Many thanks for joining us here on news today. My name is Kwabena Chenche Hinibuating. I'm still at post. Now, that's the claim of the interdicted president of the Korle-Bu Senior Staff Association, Charles Ofe Palm, whom we learn has been dismissed. According to Mr. Palm, he has not formally received any letter from management of the hospital regarding his reported dismissal. He insists any decision to dismiss him without recourse to due process shall not hold. Matilda from of our health desk has been monitoring the situation and has a lot more information on this. Is joining me now in studio with those updates. So Matilda, many thanks for joining us. So give us a background to this issue first and foremost, and then we can lead up to the issue of whether or not he's really been dismissed.
Okay, so Chenchehene, as we already know, Korle-Bu as a premier health institution, there's been a lot going on in there since somewhere last year. This started somewhere 2 years ago. The former chief executive of the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital, the Senior Staff Association, and then some members started agitating over misappropriation of funds, the use of the IGF to buy cars, and a whole lot of issues. This led to the dismissal of Reverend Okuti, who was made to step aside, and Dr. Gilbert Baker was asked to take the mantle. We thought, okay, everything was going to return to normal. It was just somewhere last year, somewhere around November, the Senior Staff Association, again led by Charles Ofe Palm. He's a very key person, an instrumental person when it comes to issues of Korle-Bu. His team, that is the Senior Staff Association, COSA, they started mounting up this pressure again that he should also step aside. Why?
That's Dr. Gilbert Baker
should
for
also
mismanagement.
For mismanagement. It looks as if the same accusation being leveled at Reverend Okuti was the same thing that has been leveled at Dr. Baker as well. So they have been agitating. They've written to the president. They've written to the health ministry, the Ghana Health Service, for him to be for him to step aside. We are yet to get a response from Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health, we've been trying to get them to give us answers to it, and they tell you Korle-Bu is a very big institution. We can't really just jump into their issue, and a lot going there. So Korle-Bu has been in the news for so many reasons, and most often it's for the bad reasons. And I'm not really surprised that this key person, that is the president of the Senior Staff Association, Charles Ofe Palm, is being picked is being picked by the management, and he's going through all this.
Okay, so we're told that he was interdicted just a few days ago over certain comments he's alleged to have made on one radio station here in the capital, Accra.
Exactly.
What were those comments, and in the build-up to that, how come that has led to his supposed dismissal?
Okay, so somewhere last week, news broke that he's been interdicted, and because of that, he's not getting his full salary, and a whole lot of his allowances that he's entitled to. All those have been taken away. This is because the management claims he made certain comments on a radio station here in Accra, which did not go very well in the name of the reputation of the hospital. So because of that, he was interdicted. Some of according to Charles Ofe Palm, he was only responding to certain key information that came up in the Public Account Committee, where Korle-Bu was cited for some, I don't know whether to put it as mismanagement or misappropriation of funds. So that was the question he was responding to, which management thought he wasn't in the best position to respond to such issues. So whatever it is, they should be contacted first to respond before he comes in. So that was the bone of contention. But already before this interdiction came up, the Senior Staff Association had already secured an injunction earlier to ban the management from taking any disciplinary action against him, say Mr. Ofe Palm, and then the other members of COSA. And this is already pending. The last time they were in court, the case has been adjourned. In 2 weeks' time, the case will be heard again. So all this is going on. For us to hear just last night that he was, so this letter, this supposed dismissal letter, was sent to his home yesterday at 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m.?
9 p.m. Before that, at 2 p.m., they had already secured an injunction from the High Court to stop Korle-Bu from carrying out any disciplinary action against him. That was served to management at 2 p.m.
At 2 p.m.
I don't know whether management received that letter or not, because many a times you secure this injunction, you send it, and then they go like, we haven't received any information of that sort. So at 9 p.m. when Charles Ofepam was in his home resting, that was when he was served a letter.
A dismissal letter.
According to him, he doesn't know what is contained in that letter. He rejected the letter. He refused to take that letter. That is why he still insists and stand by his words that he's still at post. So for him, he has not received any letter, because when they sent the letter to him yesterday at 9 p.m., he rejected that letter.
But what we do know is that today he did not show up at the office.
He has not shown up yet at the office. As at the time I spoke with his colleague, I'm told they are still in a series of meetings, and the staff are not really happy about what is going on. You know, somewhere Monday there was a demonstration. I don't know if that is what has triggered this, because I'm sure they might be saying we've had too much of you already, so let's do away with you. I don't know if that is what is the action that the management
But
is
I know you're still monitoring this situation. We'll be coming back for a lot more. But do stay, and let's still stay with health issues. And Matilda Omega will stay with us a while longer. And the World Health Day is a global health awareness day celebrated every year on April 7th. The day is celebrated to draw worldwide attention to a subject of major importance to global health each year. This year, the subject is on diabetes, and my colleague with the health desk, Matilda Omega, who is still with me, like I mentioned earlier, has been monitoring quite a number of activities that have been going on today by the World Health Organization. She's going to share with us a few of those activities. Matilda, so share with us what some of these activities are today.
Okay, so let's go to why the focus on diabetes. Why, in spite of all the health issues that are trending, why should they target diabetes as the focus for this year's celebration? This is because of the new trends, the increasing figures that we are recording worldwide, and even when it comes to Ghana. And in Ghana already the figures shows over 3 million people living in Ghana have diabetes, and in spite of that, 3 out of 9 people suffer from diabetes. So this is the trend. This is what the health experts are saying that is worrying, and immediate measures need to be taken by government to address the situation before it goes out of hand. So I've been interacting with President of the National Diabetes Association, Elizabeth Isi. I've been talking to her, and then she has been throwing more light on this worrying trend in Ghana.
There are new trends, and there is a worldwide upsurge in diabetes diagnosis. So it's made WHO worried and decided, why don't we dedicate our yearly celebration to diabetes this year?
What are these new trends we are seeing?
There are new diagnoses coming, and Ghana is not left out. Previously, we even thought it's a rich man's disease, but it might interest you to know that diagnoses are coming from the rural areas. And then previously, if you say somebody is diabetic, the person should be 50, 60. Now the diagnosing age for type 2 diabetes has dropped down as 35 years. They are being diagnosed now. A hospital like Korle-Bu, for instance, is getting about 240 new cases per month. Yeah.
This figures must be worrying and alarming to you.
Yes, they are.
So what can be done about this whole situation?
It's about advocacy, education, creating awareness, letting everybody know how bad the condition is, and then we changing our lifestyle, eating right, eating at the right time, exercising, and then checking our sugars regularly.
I know we are very keen about the type 2, but we have the type 1 too, yes, which is the... can you take us to this type 1 and type 2 briefly?
Type 1 is those who don't secrete insulin at all. The pancreas is not working, so they are insulin dependent. And then the type 2, they are not insulin dependent per se, but it's a lifestyle condition which can be managed by changing lifestyle, eating right, and then taking some tablets to help them. So the type 1 is totally insulin dependent. The type 2 is not insulin dependent.
And that was the sound clip of the national president of the Diabetes Association, Elizabeth Denyo, in an interview there with Matilda Pomega, who is still here with me in studio. So she mentioned the alarming trends as pertains currently. But again, there was an issue of government not doing enough. Tell us much more about what
they accused the government of not living up to its mandate, especially in providing funds for some of these their outreach program, because she's saying that gone are the days where diabetes is perceived as a rich man's disease. Now the youth and even people in the villages, they are getting this diabetes. So there's a need for them to do more outreach program to reach people. And also she mentioned the fact that the diabetes medication is also not covered on the NHIS. Okay. She's been asking government to do more.
Government itself must start taking diabetes serious, because not much money, not much effort is put into diabetes advocacy. And it becomes very stressful because we are ready to work, but we're not getting the backing of our governments. We go to ministry every time there's no money to assist, and then programs fall through.
Okay, my concern is also about the NHIS too. I know this is not also covered completely.
NHIS too, we wish they will fully absorb diabetes into their stream, and then, because for now, even the syringes for the injections, they see it as a device and they don't cover it. So we would like us to, if possible, to sit down with NHIS to see if we can draw a program or something that could assist them to also absorb diabetes care fully.
How expensive is it for one to get a treatment on diabetes?
You need about 350 to 400 Ghana cedis a month to manage diabetes.
How do we break these barriers? Going to the communities, engaging people who really need to know, because like you rightly said, this is no more a rich man's disease.
Going to the communities, you need money. You're going to pay the healthcare personnel. If it is pamphlets, you need money. And then our companies are interested in beauty pageants and singing competitions. Health is not a priority. You will write to a company and then they would ignore you. So we're doing our best. We wish we could, but we're not getting the support.
And you still heard that lady there. She's in charge of the Diabetes Association here in Ghana. I still have here with me Matilda Pomega, who was with her, conducted that interview and has been following quite a number of activities going on today. So quite a number of things she said there.
Exactly.
Any other things you could probably pick up from her
we are yet to hear from government. The program is still ongoing at the National Theatre. First of all, I would want to wonder why they would want to have such an event at the National Theatre anyway, when people in the communities really need to hear the message. So we are yet to hear from what government is saying about all these concerns that have been raised by the association. I'm
sure there are a lot more issues there, but many thanks for your time, Matilda Pomega, who just returned after visiting quite a number of facilities and engaging in some undercover work over there. We thank you very much for that. But let's still stay on health. And Health Day, Joy FM Sugar Project is organizing free screening exercise for people in Kumasi to mark the day. Campaigner of the project and host of the Super Morning Show, Kojo Yankson, joins me on the phone lines now with a lot more. Kojo, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. So I recall the last time you were in Cape Coast for a similar project, your team saved quite a number of lives, about 5 persons or so, if I remember correctly. Have there been any such interventions today?
Well, today we have encountered several people whose blood sugar levels are worryingly high, but not to the point where we need to panic about their lives as yet. Of course, if we had not tested them today and had tested them maybe next week, we might have found that they were in dire need of life-saving medical care. But we've given them medical care anyway, because we're doing these tests in hospitals, in district hospitals. So we've immediately put them in touch with the district healthcare system, which is going to take care of their continued healthcare from now onwards. Several of them, large numbers actually. In one place, we've already encountered about 3 or 4 people, and we're doing testing in up to 9 places today. So you can well imagine that by the end of today, we're likely to have found a few more people who, if not for the Sugar Project, would never have known that they were on the brink of some very serious medical complications.
Right, Kojo, many thanks for your time on News Today. And that was the host of the Super Morning Show, Kojo Youngson, and indeed he's the lead campaigner for that very project, the Sugar Project, which is that particular train is currently in Kumasi, the Ashanti Regional Capital, as I speak to you. Well, we've been speaking to quite a number of people on what they know about diabetes and whether or not they even know their status. Here are some streets sampled from the streets of Accra.
It's a disease that is caused by the lack of insulin or the body's unresponsiveness to insulin being produced, resulting in excess sugar staying in the blood. We can do a lot with our diet. We can do a lot with regular medical checkups. And then those who are already diabetic, unfortunately, some are born with it. We have different types. Type 1, type 2, and then those who get it when they are pregnant, called it gestational diabetes. So it depends on which type you have. If you have type 1, it's difficult controlling it with diet. Basically, you have to be on insulin because it's caused by the lack of insulin. If you have type 2, maybe you had it as a result of your lifestyle, then lifestyle changes will help a lot, particularly your diet and being on regular medication. If it's gestational, you are pregnant and as a result your blood sugar level goes up. Basically, after delivery, we expect that things will normalize.
Diabetes is a sickness that is from like when you like taking sugar, a lot of sugar. It gives you, like it will form a sore in you, and when it's too much it comes out. That's the little I know about it, but I don't know much. How to prevent it is just you not take much. You have to limit the way you take your sugar.
Diabetes is a disease that can kill so easily, and it's dangerous too. So eating of sugar, and then there's a lot of fat. Just control your diet, visit the hospital on time, and doing checkups.
You have to limit the sugar intake in case when it comes out, it can even cut your leg or something like that.
How does it come out to cut your leg?
It comes out like a sore. When it comes out, there's no treatment for it, so it can even cut all your leg or your hand or something like that.
We're taking a break here on News Today. We'll return shortly with a lot more stories. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today. To some educational stories now. And the West African Examinations Council has dismissed 2 of its staff and demoted another for what it describes as internal breach of security that led to the leakage of some exam papers. The decision follows a massive leakage of some of the papers last year via social media. The action taken by WAEC has, however, not prevented last year's situation from recurring. Head of WAEC, Reverend Samuel Mayolenu, however, tells Joy News the body has put in place measures to punish its staff found to have compromised the exams.
Well, we came out openly in the media that we, using our own internal mechanisms, have discovered 3 persons that breached our security regulations. And those 3 persons have been punished. In fact, 2 of them have been dismissed summarily, and then 1 has also been demoted. And those who were dismissed, were handed over to the BNI. So we are expecting that the BNI will also perform their part. Of course, as I said earlier, WAEC does not have the powers to prosecute, persons involved in such incidents, because, WAEC law is law. It's actually part of Ghana's law. So when that happens, it is the state versus that person. And once it is the state versus that person, it is the security agencies that must prosecute it.
Meanwhile, former lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Francis Asensu-Boyde, is asking WAEC to take a second look at the activities of chief examiners that engages in the conduct of the exams. He's joining me now over the telephone lines now with more. So, Doc, many thanks for your time here on News Today. Now, is this option you are proposing likely to change much? I mean, one would say there are a lot more variables in this whole scenario.
Yeah, you know, the chief examiners have the final say as to which questions are going to appear for the particular year in question. But I have observed that some of the chief examiners are part of the team, some teams that organize vacation classes. So when people attend their vacation classes, they tend to discuss questions and other things with them. Questions that are usually discussed are the ones that will come in the ensuing year. So if people observe the pattern, definitely they will know that they will know which questions will be coming. I just saw something on an internet portal saying that WAEC is saying the questions did not leak, but the student had foreknowledge. So who gave them the foreknowledge? That is why I'm thinking that we need to look at the activities of those chief examiners and see if they are still involved in the vacation classes. We need to monitor what they do during those periods.
So, sir, beyond looking at the activities of these chief examiners, what more can WAEC do?
They need to see how the questions are protected. I've heard some people suggesting that the questions should not be pre-printed before distribution. They should look at how they can adopt technology in sending the questions to examination centers. They are all well and good. But if the main people who decide on the final questions are involved in other activities that will expose students to questions that may appear, we will always have the leakage.
Right. And I suppose, like many are suggesting, you would actually go for a change in the format for sending these questions to the many schools that are taking these exams. And some are proposing a computerized system. I mean, is that feasible, looking at the system we have here in Ghana?
Availability of computers may be a challenge, but you see, they will all help to some extent. If we don't work on the human aspect, those who are deciding on the final question, if they are still involved in activities like, for instance, if you have a chief examiner who owns a school, the chief examiner will want the school to perform. So definitely they may indirectly let students know which kind of questions to expect. And you know, when students get to know, they may tell their friends. And these things may continue, and then the leakage will come. So, though the technology may help us, we need to work on the human aspect.
Right. Doc, many thanks for your time on News Today this afternoon. And that was Dr. Francis Asensu-Boyede, who is a former lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Now, the Executive Director of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Professor Emmanuel, has lashed out at Ghanaian politicians, saying most of them are policy illiterates. Now, the situation, he says, is responsible for the country's slow pace of development over the years. Professor Jimabwedi was speaking at the Joy FM Thought Leadership Lecture at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research at Legon.
Economic transformation is a technocratic matter, and so it does require some technocratic knowledge. The problem of Ghana, as in many African countries, and indeed the tragedy, is that you have too many political leaders who are simply economically policy illiterate. And worse than that, they often fail to attract to themselves people who are literate, who are technically strong in these areas, and work with them. And I think Ghana is suffering more of that kind of illness at the present time. I throw a challenge to all of you. What's our economic change team now? What's our key technocratic leadership of economic management and economic transformation today? I leave it as a question, but I think it's a question that we should all be thinking about and answering for ourselves in the most honest manner as possible, whether we have the right team for economic transformation in place, regardless of the verbal commitment.
Let's stay with politics now. And government has denied claims by the opposition New Patriotic Party that it has done little to improve the country's educational sector over the past 7 years. Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwachio-Fosu says, contrary to the claims, the NDC government has done a remarkable job of improving access to education while upgrading existing educational facilities, all in a bid to improving the sector. Speaking on Majority Caucus last night on the topic accounting to the people, the Deputy Communications Minister said the work put in by the ruling NDC in terms of education is one that will surely win them power come November this year. He has also been justifying the decision by government to scrap teacher trainee allowances, describing the move as a necessary evil.
If you go to the education sector, for instance, that perhaps is the area where government has invested the most. When we came to power, the most critical challenges affecting the education sector were infrastructure or the lack of it. You know about the phenomenon of schools under trees. There were 4,321 schools. That's for primary schools. For basic schools. Across this country that were held under trees. And it was not the most appropriate condition under which to educate Ghanaian children. So government took it upon itself to eliminate this spectre with a view to providing a more conducive environment. As I speak to you, and if you look at page 8 of this book, we give account of what has been done. 1,614 out of 2,578 such projects that were started have been completed and delivered. The remaining will be completed in due course. We speak about materials that have been distributed for the purposes of educating our children, 100 million exercise books in the course of 4 to 5 years, over 12.5 million textbooks, which has enabled us reverse the textbook to pupil ratio, which stood at 3 pupils to 1 book. Now 4 textbooks are given to 1 pupil, and so we reversed it and even exceeded the United Nations benchmark. We have distributed over 2 million school uniforms for school children in deprived communities whose parents had difficulty procuring such uniforms. We have distributed 10,000 sandals, and these have significantly helped improve access. Politics requires candor, and sometimes it is necessary to take decisions that are in the best interests of everybody. We had a situation where about 38 colleges of education were operating below capacity. Some of them were operating at about 40% capacity. Yet there was a vast pool. Why was that? Now I will explain that presently. Yet there was a vast pool of people who have or harbored an interest in accessing teacher training education. Now the constraint, the reason why they could not operate at maximum capacity was that resources are scarce. And yet government was paying teaching allowances to students who were admitted to these institutions. And it was making it difficult to cope with the numbers, because if you check the trend, since the days of Buzia, the teacher training allowance has been reducing. And it reduced to a point where, I beg your pardon, the intake had been reducing. And it reduced to a point where it was inimical to our progress and interest as a nation. It wasn't commensurate with the investment. Whereas we needed more teachers, we were unable to take more because the money that we had to be spent on teacher training. Now we have to make a decision as a government to replace that teacher training allowance. Some people go about claiming that we have abolished teacher training allowance. We replaced it, and even then, continuing students still benefit from teacher training allowance.
That was Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwachio-Fosu speaking on Majority Caucus last night. And do remember that Minority Caucus comes off this evening at 6 p.m. on your Joy News channel here on Multi TV. Let's stay with the Minority New Patriotic Party. And the party has rejected reports that it is considering reinstating suspended National Chairman Paul Afoko and General Secretary Kwabena Ejapon. The two were suspended from the party for misconduct last year. Section of the media on Wednesday reported that the party was initiating moves to drop sanctions against the two after the National Executive Council penalized them following a disciplinary hearing. But the Director of Communications for the NPP, Nana Akomia, in a statement released on Wednesday night, said the party has not taken any such decision. Kwache, a friend of our political desk, earlier gave a lot more details on this developing story.
What
what does this statement from the NPP say specifically?
Well, first, all this started as an April Fool's prank. Then subsequently, after 1st April, some online portals picked it as hard news and were carrying it. In fact, what they reported then at the time was that the NPP was not only considering reinstating Mr. Kwabena Agyapong and Paul Afoko as executives, but also Mr. Sami Krab, former vice chair of the party. But the New Patriotic Party says that all this is not true. Nana Komia signed a statement, says that rather brief, the attention of the New Patriotic Party has been drawn to stories on one or two social media portals that the party intends to reinstate Mr. Paul Afoko and Kwabena Agyapong. At this last steering committee and national executive committee meetings, this issue did not even come up at all for any discussion, much less a decision. Any report on this matter is a pure speculation. And so you see here clearly he points to the national executive committee meeting, as you mentioned. That was what the story, those stories on social media pointed to, that this decision had been taken at the national executive committee meeting after the steering committee of the party had also considered same. But the New Patriotic Party says there is no such intention of reinstating these two officers as elected executives of the party.
Okay, so now we are told that there's been a response from the camp of the suspended national chairman. I'm speaking of Mr. Paul Afoko. You have a copy of that as well? What does it say?
His spokesperson, Nana, says signed this one. It's over 3-paragraph statement. It says that their attention has also been drawn to news making rounds on some online portals, saying, and they name one particularly in this statement, Kasapa FM Online, stating that they had picked up information from sources, credible sources within the MPP, to the effect that there were ongoing discussions within the party to reinstate Mr. Paul Afoko. In fact, what that story said was that this was to ensure that the party would maintain a united front, bring all the factions in the party together. That was the motive of this intended plan, as was reported by this online portal and other social media sites. And Mr. Afoko says that he is grateful to all those who have sought to find out the truth on this matter, because he'd received a number of calls concerning that matter, and wishes to say that he is not in any reconciliation talks with any of the persons or group of persons who, either within or outside the party, in respect of the so-called reinstatement. And the concluding part says that the national chairman is reassuring the general public, especially party members, that he is in court of law to challenge what he considers as an illegality perpetrated by some selected few members who erroneously think their wishes should be law in the MPP. And interestingly, still, all statements signed by Nana Yalsei, spokesperson for Mr. Afoko, still come with the title of spokesperson for the national chairman of the MPP, clearly indicating that Mr. Afoko thinks that he still
sees himself as the
national chairman of the party. New Patriotic Party.
Interesting there. We are still watching news today here on your Joy News channel here on Multi TV. Stay on, because we still have business, sports, entertainment, as well as international updates all ahead. But we are taking a few messages. We'll be back shortly.
And now time to do some business, and some human resource experts believe it's high time managers structured training and other development programs to empower workers with international best practices. This, they say, could take the form of training on the use of different technologies and exchange programs. A spokesperson at the Society for Human Resource Management Forum, Korle-Bu Wright, spoke to Joy Business after a workshop to discuss critical areas for development in HR in Ghana.
As the organization grows, not only is HR looking at what it is that the employees need to catch up, but they also need to look at what it is that they need as leaders to be able to provide the resources to the employees and to the organization. I think mainly depends on what the business is. If it's mining, it's probably a different trend. But when he talks about mobility, when he talks about technology, when he talks about, I think there was a third thing he mentioned, those are all critical links to be able to make sure that you stay relevant globally, because there are those skills, and then they are also the ones that you find in interaction, human interaction with people. So you don't send somebody who isn't knowledgeable about a certain culture, or you make sure that you have some training program available for people who are going to China, to certain countries, so that when they get there, they are actually infused in some of what the community needs them to know when they get there.
And now from some human resource matters to banking and finance. And some banks and insurance companies are stepping up effort to rope in more Ghanaians on insurance schemes. This has become crucial as only 2% of Ghanaian population hold insurance policy. Speaking at the launch of the Fidelity Bank's bank assurance product in partnership with insurance firm Prudential Life, Deputy Managing Director of Fidelity Bank Ghana, Jim Bading, said the low level of interest in insurance by Ghanaians was due to the lack of education on the benefits of insurance.
The insurance penetration out there is just about 2%. Fidelity Bank is joining the market from today with the launch of our life products. What we'll do is to roll out the products across our 75 branches, and therefore straight away we are contributing 75 locations interfacing with customers. We have over 1 million customers banking with us, and immediately they're a target. So we can contribute at least 50% of our customer base to the portfolio. Most Ghanaians do not understand insurance generally. I think the banks and insurance companies will need to step up their marketing initiatives, invest a bit more resource to educate the general populace the benefits of taking a life insurance policy. It's very important. Even in blue-collar jobs, in corporate entities, the number of executives or high-end workers who have an insurance policy is very low. It is largely because of lack of education.
The launch of the bank assurance plan follows the signing of an agreement between Fidelity Bank and Prudential in August. The partnership allows Fidelity Bank customers to buy Prudential products in almost 80 branches throughout the country. And that'll be it for business. My name is John Kojo Amoko. Kindly join me between 1 and 1:30 on the marketplace. We have a lot for you. Coming up next is sport.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the entertainment segment on Joy News today. My name is Ms. G. Now, Walk with Lexus was launched yesterday. Host of Drive Time on Joy, Kwame Sechiyama, known as Lexus Bill, launched his walk yesterday at Toyota Ghana. There's more in this report. Host of Drive Time on Joy FM 99.7, Kwame Sechiyama, popularly known as Lexus Bill, is set to walk up the Abri Mountains with some listeners and fitness lovers on Saturday, April 9. The walk, powered by Joy FM, will see hundreds of listeners of the station, including celebrities, walk from the Ayi Mensa toll booth to the Peduasi Lodge. The event was formally launched at the showroom of Toyota Ghana. The launch was graced by several dignitaries, including the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Neelante Van der Poel, National Director for the National Cardiothoracic Center, Dr. Korle Insumensa of the National Cardiothoracic Center, Eric Dako, Chief Executive Officer of Toyota Ghana, Shirley Aqua Harrison, Director of Sales and Marketing, Graphic Communication Group Limited. Lexus, after the launch, explained that his interest is born out of the fact that he is a passionate fitness lover. Lexus presented a pair of Puma trainers and T-shirt branded Walk with Lexus to some personalities at the launch.
I'm totally honored, of course, to stand here and initiate this movement. Of course, it's a dream come true. It's something that's been on my heart for a while. Like Nathaniel rightly mentioned, I'm a passionate fanatic of fitness, and having seen the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle and exercising, I thought this was worth sharing with the world. So the Multimedia Group Limited, led by Joy FM, and our collaborators, Graphic Communications Group, Sixel Ghana Limited as well, decided to reach out to some corporate bodies as well who share in the values that we dearly hold. And that's how come we launched this project. Joy FM, as always and continuously, will put cherished listeners first in all we do. That's not only being the most reliable and dependable news source, of course, but also a partner whose foremost interest is to keep its audience very well informed in every sphere of their life. Now, health is a major concern of every individual, and
all right, let's join Lex's walk up the mountain this Saturday. But let's move on to other stories. And rapper Korle-Bu's real name, Emmanuel has started preparations to marry his longtime girlfriend, Doris Chebafo. The engagement, which precedes the wedding, is taking place as we speak now in Kumasi. The white wedding is scheduled to take place in Accra on Saturday, April 9. Korle-Bu and Doris Chebafo, known for her role as Pokua in a Furious series, have been dating for years now. This, however, will be Korle-Bu's second marriage after his divorce with his American wife, Anne, in 2014, after 6 years of marriage. And that'll be it for entertainment. There's more entertainment in our subsequent bulletin. My name is Ms. G.
And that's how we wrap up on News Today this afternoon on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Kwabena Chenche. Remember to visit myjoyonline.com for a lot more stories. John Kojo Mokun is standing by with the marketplace, but also do remember that Minority Caucus comes off this evening at 6 p.m. on this very same channel. Many thanks for your company.